how comes the methodologies or processes, right? So that is more important. So when you go and talk to a business owner or a organization, okay, they will look for, so the stakeholders will ask us, what are the drivers, what exactly we are going to gain after as part of this migration. So you need to have a conversation with your IT manager or your business owners, so that before going to the um, people who are going to approve the solution, we have to understand what are the important business driver. So we need to the business driver might be different from one organization to another organization. So I'll just give you um, some sample business drivers which can help you with some better conversation. Okay, so if you are an architect, you might have to understand what are the important aspect which is going to help the business as part of this migration. So some companies might have data center lease or data center lease expiration, or data center is more costly, or they might have a rented data center. Okay, so a lot of people will talk about this thing. Okay, so the data center lease might get expired, or they want to move out of the data center. Okay, so data center exit requirement, and they might also have a lot of end of life hardware. The hardware can be a server or storage or network or whatever it is. So we need to identify that, and we need to, they might have a lot of end of life operating system. Okay, it might be a traditional Unix or Solaris or whatever it is. It might be Linux, or we need to understand their landscape. And they might have a lot of traditional application or legacy application. Okay, and they might want to modernize their application. So these are all something which you can talk to the IT managers or the people at a lower level to understand the ground details. One second. Yeah, okay. So we need to identify what exactly are the business. Okay, want to migrate 10 servers, so we need to install this agent on all 10 servers. No. So I'll come to that point. Who's asking that? Let me check that. Subramani, right? Okay, I'll come to that point, Subho. Okay, so it's not we need to install on all the servers, but we need agent on all the servers where what we are trying to migrate. But if you have a vCenter, then we don't have to install agent on all the virtual machines, because vCenter will already have permission and it will help us. I'll come to that point shortly. Okay, so here, so these are some of the business drivers, right? What we are talking about here. So they might have a lot of legacy operating system or application or hardware. They might want to move out of the data center, and they might have a lot of performance issues in their existing applications or system. They might not have a proper DR or a kind of business continuity options, or a DR plan is not proper. They might not have a lot of flexibility in their current environment. Security might not be proper. So all these things, the IT managers will tell that as a challenge. What are the different challenges they have? They are not able to expand the application to different locations. So they have a lot of availability issues or operational issues or management issues, standardization. So when you talk more, they will talk about these aspects. Okay, so once you capture all these things, when you go and talk to the business stakeholders who are going to approve this project, you need to highlight what are the pain areas which can be rectified. Okay, unless and otherwise you showcase all this thing to stakeholders, whoever is in the organization who is at the greatest value, who decides the business outcome, they have to understand, we call it as product owner or a potential stakeholder. They have to approve what exact benefit that the business is going to realize. Okay, if you are not able to identify the business driver, then you cannot define the KPI. Then you cannot define the success criteria. So unless you define some success criteria for an organization, definitely none of the organization stakeholders is going to approve this. The transformation or the migration or the transition that we are doing should have a KPI, should have a metric, should have a way to validate or verify what exactly we are going to benefit, what exactly we are going to realize after the migration. So when I say KPI, the key performance indicator, what are the different metrics? I need not do renewal every year on year. I need not worry about the hardware infrastructure. I don't have to worry about the availability. I can have more storage account, or I'll have 99.99 of availability. So all those pain areas should have to be showcased as a realizable, or the outcome has to be defined here. What exactly it is going to show, like the decreased time to market, whatever we studied on the day one, right? The benefits of the cloud, you can use most of the items here to list down those, but it should be mapped to the benefits of the pain point that the customer has got. So this is just a sample here. So this might add more and more. Some people will say that governance, like they are doing a lot of unstandard activities. Some people are using different database in one location, in one region they are using Oracle. So they might not have a lot of standardization, and they might be using one same storage for all the purposes, for testing, for development, for production. All the cases they might be using storage, the same storage tiering. So they are wasting a lot of money in that high cost storage. So they might be looking in for change in vendor. So they might not be happy with the current vendor. The solution that they have provided might not be operationally better. So they might talk about the pain points here. So they might say, like, I have challenges in backup, patching, routine monitoring, maintenance, or security event handling. So all those things has to be captured here, and you have to list down the solutions, what we have in Azure platform, or whatever cloud platform that you're talking about. And if they're talking about legacy application, you should tell them, like, what are the application options we have in cloud, what are the cloud native solutions available. So they have to understand that there are some data center modernization options or application modernization options, and we can tell them, like, we can grow like anything. We have to highlight that the capacity is unlimited in the cloud. So these are the important discussion. Okay, so before even you start the migration, we have to justify that whatever the challenges we are going to overcome. So that's one of the important thing when it comes to the processes and methodology. So we have to get the executive sponsorship for the migration to happen. If they don't approve, if we are not getting the required funding, then we are not going to go with the migration. So this is important discussion for an architect. Okay, so if you are a junior engineer, don't worry about all those things. Okay, I'm just giving these inputs for an architect to discuss. They have to go and talk and understand what are the different stuff they have. Okay. Okay, so let's see where we are. Okay, it's still installing. Let it get installed. So meanwhile, we'll also talk about once after we have done the justification, the business drivers are being discussed. They will ask about the timelines now. Okay, once we discuss the business drivers, they will ask, like, how much time it is going to do the migration, how much time it is going to do complete the TNT activity. Um, Generally, like, the migrations might take minimum of 2 months to a maximum of a couple of years or 3 years also, right? It depends on how big is our environment, how many different categories we have, how complex is the environment, right? So definitely we need to understand their asset, what kind of server infrastructure they have, what kind of storage infrastructure they have, what kind of application they have, what kind of data that they are working with. See, for example, if you have thousands of or millions of smaller files, the migration time is more. And if you have multiple different complex application, and the migration might take more time. And if you have multiple different database variant, then the migration will take. So the complexity of the asset itself is very important. So you need to understand the number of asset they have, how many databases they have, how many okay, when I say asset, I'm talking to those servers only. How many web server, how many application server, how many database they have, how much data they need to migrate, how much infrastructure they have in terms of server storage and all those things. So we have to quantify those things, and we have to identify the diversity of databases, diversity of application, what kind of asset they have. So we need to understand all those things, what kind of web server they are using, whether all of them are IaaS or they have Apache or Tomcat or whatever it is, right? So we need to understand the asset first. Then we need to understand the staff readiness. So when I say staff readiness, we need to understand whether we have the required skill set to understand and migrate whatever the complexity of asset. If you don't have a skill set, you need to provide training or you need to recruit new engineers to get those things. Okay, so staff readiness is directly proportional to the complexity of asset. Then definitely the funding is very important. Okay, so some companies will approve only 6 months funding, and they will say only we have this much timeline. And if we shrink the timeline, we have to have more staffs to be ready to complete this migration on time. And we need to understand the change management processes and procedures on the customer side, because I've seen customers having complete freeze during the November-December timeframe. They might have complete freeze during the March-April timeframe for financial closure. Okay, so we need to understand the change calendar for the customer. They might have only 1 week, 2 weeks in a month where we can go and do the actual cutover or migration. So the change implementation, approval, all those things, the business calendar, the change calendar is very, very important. You need to understand the customer's practice. What are the time they allow for actual cutover to happen? When, which time we can replicate, whether we can replicate during the business hours or only during the non-business hours, whether we can do any changes during a particular time. So all those things are very important, and we need to understand the security or compliance requirement. Okay, so whether we need to follow any industry standards or industry regulation, whether it is PCI compliant, whether the data is HIPAA compliant, what kind of segment it is. So we need to understand their security aspect, their compliance aspect. And based on that, we can decide where exactly the data can reside, whether this can replicate to a different location or we can have a replication enabled for the data. So we need to understand the industry segment and their regulation standard and their compliance requirement. So all these things play a very, very major role in deciding the timeline, how long the migration is going to happen, how long the TNT activity is going to happen. Okay, so the timeline, if they ask like timeline, you cannot just say 1 month or 2 months. Okay, sometimes based on the complexity or the diversity of the asset which you are dealing with, you might need more time. You might have to go and do a recruitment, you might have to go and give some training and all those things. Okay, so the timelines can be decided based on these 5 aspects, but it might not be limited to this 5 aspect. You might need to take you might need to take time for POC or pilot activity. You might take more time for discovery. So you might take more time for assessment. So it all depends, right? So you can say only after you understand the customer's landscape, how big it is, you can start giving some rough timelines. And that too, it will be only a rough estimate. You cannot give a exact estimate at the beginning itself. It will be a just ballpark figure, right? And in order to start with all those things, the very first thing is discovery and assessment. That's the first phase when we deal with migration, right? Discovery and assessment phase. When we talk about discovery and assessment phase, Microsoft has given a lot of inbuilt options or inbuilt tools within Azure Migrate. They have the native tool for discovery and assessment. Okay, we can use that native tool. Okay, or else they also have given earlier, I'm not sure if they are still releasing that MAPS tool. There used to be a downloadable tool which is called Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit. Okay, which you can install in any of your source environment, and you need not upload all the data to cloud, because some companies, they will not allow to upload their assessment data to the cloud. So you can use this offline discovery and analysis, Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit, MAPS Toolkit. So you can download it in your source environment. It's a free tool from Microsoft. You can install this tool and gather all the information and you can do it. And companies like Accenture, IBM, those companies, they use tools from Risk Networks, or they use tools from Science Logic. There are two famous tools. They are called as Cloudscape Navigator and Cloud Mapper. So these are the heavily used tools, especially when it comes to discovery and assessment of diverse platform. Okay, in some organization, you might have a very straightforward thing. Only you'll have Microsoft and products and tool sets. You can just go and install Microsoft assessment tool and get the data. But if your environment is more complex, these days I'm seeing a lot of companies are using Device42. It is a very, very good tool. And if you have some time, you can also install this tool and practice it. And one more important thing, they actually provide a lot of webinars. Okay, so you don't have to spend too much time here. Okay, so just go to Device42 webinar, and they will give you a live demo every Wednesday and Thursday. You can just go and attend it. Okay, so it is just 1 hour session on Wednesday and Thursday. They will have every Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, it's directly taking it to, okay, so here it is, right? So you can just go and take the Wednesday 1 hour session based on your time zone. You can select which one is preferred, and they will give you a very detailed demo on how we can do a discovery, inventory, and application dependency mapping, reporting. So they have 2 sessions, one on Wednesday, and the other session they have it on Thursday, which is an advanced session. So if you attend this 30 minutes and one hour session, you will get very good insight on how to do a discovery and assessment. Okay, so this is a very good option. When you get time, you go and register for this, and you'll get to understand how to do a diverse discovery and analysis. But we are also going to do it, but we'll be using Microsoft native tools. But most of the companies are now starting to use the third-party tools like Cloudscape and Device42. Device42 is very, very popular now. So it gives you a lot of diverse assessment. You can go and assess your KVM, VMware, Hyper-V, any kind of Solaris, a lot of this devices, or a lot of virtualization platform, server, storage, all can be assessed using one tool. I would prefer you to attend this webinar from Device42. It happens every Wednesday and Thursday. Based on your time zone, you can just go and attend it. Okay, you have to just spend only 30 minutes on Wednesday and 1 hour on Thursday. And within that, you will get very, very good understanding on how to do a inventory, discovery, assessment, reporting, dashboard. So it is very useful. And you can also download it and install it. Yeah, Risk Network is a company, Arun. Okay, so Risk Network, Science Logic, these are all company name, and Cloudscape, Cloud Map are all tool names.
Tool name.
Okay, so,
okay.
yeah. So ask questions anytime. Okay, so yeah, you can also speak up so that I understand whether you guys are following me. So there are a lot of tools. Okay, we have tools like CloudAmize, we have tools like Atadata. There are hundreds of tools available. All these are discovery and analysis tool. What exactly it is going to discover? It will go and discover what are the infrastructure details, how many servers we have, what are the server sizes, like CPU, memory, network, storage, what are the different applications that is involved, which application server is talking to which database server, and which web server is talking to which server. So all those dependency information, which port they are talking to each other. So app dependency mapping. Okay, and what port numbers it is interacting with, the port interactions. So it is going to get you all these details. What are the different version we have? Yeah.
Netcode is actually automated tool, no? See, we used to automate the task. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Which one?
Netcode.
Okay, can you spell it out?
Netcode, Netcool.
Netcool monitoring tool.
Monitoring, yeah. Okay. But you said you mentioned Netcode, that's why I'm asking you this.
No, I have not mentioned Netcool. Where I mentioned it?
Okay. It is like that only. Okay, probably, yeah.
Okay, fine. So yeah, Netcool, I have never used it. Maybe it's a very good monitoring tool from maybe I think Tivoli or IBM's tool, right? That's what I saw. Okay, anyways. So here in Azure platform, we generally use Azure Migrate or Cloud Amise. They provide all these options. They also have tie-up with a few more organizations like Current Technologies. It's a very good partner for Microsoft. You can also use Current Technology, and you can also use Device 42. Okay, and there are
we need to pay for this, or it's a free store?
yeah, this is free. Okay, so Maps is free, Azure Migrate is free, and I think to some extent Current Technology is free, but these are all chargeable. Device 42 chargeable, Atadata is chargeable. Movier is, I think Movier is currently Microsoft has purchased it. I'm not 100% sure about it, but you can also use it. And you can also use Turbonomics. These are a licensable product. Turbonomics is a licensable product. Movier, I think
Microsoft, this is
third party.
separate.
These are
Third
all
party.
third party. This one is Microsoft native, and this one is Microsoft native. And yeah, Atadata, you can, it is third party. Okay, there are many tools. Okay, so let me simplify this. Okay, I don't want to complicate with
Yeah,
having.
correct. Microsoft tools, we just put it one side, and then third party tools, you put it other side. Okay, so that they will
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, whatever here below the first two, all of them are third party.
Okay, fine, fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So the reason maybe I would give you one more hint here. So if, for example, if you have a Citrix environment, or if you have a Zen environment or a VDI environment, then people go for Movier. Okay, maybe we have to decide on the tools based on the source infrastructure. If you have a hybrid public cloud environment and hybrid cloud environment, people go for Device 42 and Current Technologies, these tools. And if it is Microsoft major, for example, if you have a lot of Microsoft SQL database, .NET framework applications, or ASP applications, if you have a lot of Windows workload, you can go for Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit. So it depends on the source environment. We decide on which tool to use. These are all discovery and analysis tool, which we use during the discovery and assessment phase. But when it comes to migration phase, we might use different tools. Okay, so what exactly we are going to do with discovery and assessment? We are going to discover the environment. We are going to understand the dependency mapping, dependency analysis, what kind of configuration we have, what are the different application versions we have, whether the servers are compatible, what kind of operating system flavors we have, Windows, SUSE Linux, Red Hat Linux, or whatever it is, right? So we need to identify the diversity. So for that, we use the tools like this. Okay, and if you want to be enterprise class, then I would prefer you to attend that Device 42 session. That will give you much more, because we need 1.5 hours time to discuss just on that tool alone. So we don't have that much of room here. Yeah, but you can attend it directly from the vendor itself. They provide you much better training. Yeah, you can also download that tool, and you can maybe try to install it and see what are the options available if you want to have some hands-on. But we are going to use the Microsoft native discovery tool here. Okay, coming back here. Okay, so the configuration and the process server exe has got completed. Now we are installed. It is asking us to copy the passphrase. Okay, you might need to use this little later. I'll just copy the passphrase, and let me just save it for safer side. I'll just put it here. Okay, this passphrase is needed. Okay, so this is migration passphrase. Sometimes if you want to reinstall the agent, or if you want to reinstall the exe file, it will ask for that passphrase. Okay, see, once after you are done, it should come and list down here. But I think there are some registration which is pending. So there is a screen here, right? I can go and add the account which I'm going to use it for installing the mobility service. Mobility service is the agent. Okay, so mobility service is the agent which we need to install it on all the systems which we are planning to migrate. So we don't have to install this tool on all the server, but we need to have the agent on all the server, which is nothing but your mobility service. So I'll just add the service account. I will just pick up that service account name which we created. Okay, I'll use the service account name for registration. Okay, if you have a domain, Active Directory domain, then give the domain name / the username if you have a domain, or else you can just leave it. Okay, use the password for the registration. Okay, what did I give? Okay, perfect. So now, okay, we already registered the vault. Okay, we are all done there. Let me close it. So it is still not coming up. Let me just refresh it. Okay, it's still not showing. I can just go and check it here. So if I go under the site recovery, I should have a new recovery services vault here in WestUS 2. Okay, it is created as DB migration for some reason. Okay, so here I should go to the recovery service infrastructure, and here I should see the configuration server. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is the same server which I have logged in. I think we did not rename it. We should have renamed the server. Okay, EC2 Amazon -8G0D9Q9. This is the default EC2 Amazon name. So I mean, I have not renamed it, so it's showing up here. Now at least we are confirmed that the configuration server is registered to Azure Console, and we should be good to start with the replication, right? So now let's do one thing. Let's go and see replicated items. Okay. Here in this console, it is showing only very few items. For a better understanding, I can show you the discovery stuff. Okay, so let me show you how we can do it. Okay, so these are the options like whatever we are discussing, right? So let me see. No appliance. Okay. See, if you click on discovery, okay, you will get the different tools that you can use it actually. Okay, so let me now it is showing the server. It took some time. Okay, maybe you can just go out and come back. Okay, I mean, when I say go out and come back, just go out of this window and come back and check. Now it is showing the server name here, where I can go and select and finalize. Okay, now we have the configuration server, which will collect all the information. So we can either do it by adding the server configuration server directly, or there is one more method. There is an offline method. Okay, let me try to show that. Let me reshare my screen. Downloads. My estimate desktop. Okay, I had some sample. 1 second, guys. Let me quickly check that. Give me a second. I'm just checking a sample file here. I had some sample for offline discovery. If some customers might not give you permission, okay, to get their workload details and all those things. So Microsoft has given us a template where we can send them that CMDB template, and the IT management team, they can fill in that Excel sheet and give it back. Okay, let me check. I had a sample sheet. Let me go to this PC, desktop, demo, Azure. Okay, 1 second. Let me quickly check something. Okay, guys, I'll just check that file during the break, possibly. I don't want to hold now since we are already late for the replication. It is going to take a lot of time. Okay, so once after the discovery is complete, okay, the option for replication will get enabled, or the option for the migration will get enabled. So now the discovery, the server, we have installed the configuration server and the registration is finalized. We are good with the registration. Now